any public comment. Anybody lined up for public comment? Is there anyone in the lobby or online as well? Oh, there is somebody there.
There's,
Oh, okay.
there's
It's
the
hard to
lobby.
see from the little block on the screen. Clarissa,
There's-
if you have public comment, we'd love to hear it as well.
There's no one in the lobby for public comment, nor have we received any written public comment.
All right, thank you very much. The first action item is the approval of the January 2021 minutes. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you so much. And if it's all right, I'm going to switch our order a little bit, since I'm hoping that Commissioner Albritton can be here to discuss the Clearwater multimodal facility design. So we're going to instead switch to the AVA extension in St. Petersburg. So Cassandra, hopefully that's not throwing you off the schedule there.
I hope it would take more than that to throw me off my game.
I would expect.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Good morning, committee members. I really appreciate you being here today. We are looking to extend the service for the Autonomous Vehicle Advantage, or AVA project, in the city of St. Petersburg. We were approached by the city probably mid-January asking for this extension. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we've done so far and how the project is going, and then talk about the actual recommendation. So can you change the slide for me, Julie? Here we go. And the next one too, thanks. So as we've been discussing over the last few years, the future of transportation is autonomous, connected, electric, and shared. Click that for me, Julie, please. So we already have our connected vehicles, right, through our real-time bus information that we share with the public. We've certainly made great strides in being electric, and we just took delivery of an additional 4 vehicles to add to our electric fleet, and we are the largest electric fleet in the state of Florida. And of course, we are known nationally for our shared technologies with our partnerships with Uber and Lyft and other transportation network companies that are really changing us from a bus company to a mobility manager. And now we can say we are also autonomous. With the introduction of AVA in St. Petersburg, we have launched the full ACES platform within PSTA. Next slide, please. So the AVA project, which is, we call her the latest seasonal resident of St. Petersburg, and has been enjoying a lot of success as it connects Bayshore Boulevard from the Vinoy to the Dali. As of today, we've had over 3,000 rides taken on AVA, and this is the highest ridership in the entire system that our partner Beep manages, even with the social distancing requirements that we've put in place to only carry 4 to 6 riders at a time. Next slide, please. So this is a more description of what we are doing out there. We do have 2 shuttles in our contract with Beep. Each one that's out there does have an attendant on board or a co-pilot to help with customer safety and feedback. And they have been giving us some great information about how people are enjoying the service and also how they feel about having a driverless vehicle on their streets. The service has been fare-free since its inception and operates Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We did get assistance for the operations for this program from the Florida Department of Transportation Commuter Assistance Program. Next slide, please. We also hosted an ADA day, so showing how those passengers with mobility devices could access the service and how compliant it has been with the ADA. And you see Gloria Lepid-Corrigan, who's on our track committee, and she was very excited to be part of that That day was requested by the Florida Department of Transportation to show an example for the state about how we are deploying our services, but then also how we're accessible to everyone. Next slide. Our current AVA service contract with BEEP did expire earlier this week. But because of the proposed extension by the city of St. Petersburg, they are out operating today. So we did get approached by the city of St. Petersburg to continue the service. We had originally decided to end the service mid-February because of the Grand Prix and the setup for the Grand Prix. But with the delay in that event, the city thought we should continue such a great program and such a great demonstration. In exploring the extension with BEEP and the price proposal that they gave us, we found that we were well within the residual amount available to us from the Florida Department of Transportation grant, with the remainder of that 50% service being funded by the city of St. Pete. So this is a no-cost extension to PSTA. We would have to, however, time extend our contract with BEEP and our agreement for them to continue the work, as well as our interlocal agreement with the city in order to access the dollars that they have available to extend the service. Next slide, please. So the action item before you today is to recommend the approval of the amendment to our interlocal agreement with the city of St. Petersburg to continue the service through March 28th, which is a Sunday, and accept their 50% match for that extension of service to match the FDOT grant funding. We're also asking for you to take action, recommend approval of the amendment to the task work order with BEEP to extend their operations to that same date. And with that, I will turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Cassandra. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Flowers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please forgive me if this has already been answered. Are we discussing how we will continue funding this for a sustainable service past even the March date?
So the intention of the program was to have 3 demonstrations, and that information would come to you next month. We would extend the demonstrations to the city of Dunedin and to the city of Clearwater for the remainder of the year. That extension of service to North County will be funded by the Tampa Bay Area Regional Transportation Authority. And so we do intend to keep the vehicle here in Pinellas County for some time, but we have not yet determined if there is an opportunity for us to continue the service indefinitely.
And Commissioner, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Flyer, that's a good question. We've been asking that. These are officially considered pilot programs of this new technology. Each one of these pilot programs has to get a separate approval by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And right now, they are only approving pilots, temporary services. They have not, about a year ago, they put a ban on any kind of permanent autonomous vehicle service. So far, they have not issued a permit for a permanent service. But it's certainly something that we want to look at in the future.
I would hope so, because we have so many residents who have really embraced AVA. And it's a service that really has helped not just St. Pete, but I'm sure will move other cities into a whole nother level when you talk about bringing back tourism and persons' ability to be mobile throughout their respective places. And after all, we do have a Tesla vehicle that can be autonomous somewhat. So I would move approval of the recommendation to accept the matching dollars from the city of St. Petersburg in the amount of $32,400 and extend the operations until March 28, 2021. for a
Thank-
cost not to exceed $64,800.
Thank you for that motion.
I'll second that motion.
And second, thank you. Are there additional questions? Commissioner Albritton?
Yeah, Cassandra, have you decided where Ava's going after March? Is it going to Clearwater or is it going to Dunedin first?
Do I have to answer that now, or can I answer that next month when I present the T-BARTA money that they've so graciously given us for those deployments?
Okay.
All right, and Cassandra,
I don't want to alarm you next month. So the game plan is to go to Dunedin next, using the T-BARTA money. And then I think it'll be better to then do Clearwater Beach, because hopefully by then the vaccines will be out and there'll be a lot more people on the beach, by the end of the summer, hopefully, than now, than in a month. But again, as Cassandra said, that we are using now T-BARTA funding, and so we're kind of restricted to kind of stick with that schedule. But I think it'll end up being better for Clearwater Beach. We'll have more ridership, because there'll be more activity on the beach a little bit later.
thank you, Mr. Miller. Cassandra, I did have just a clarification, just trying to understand the flow of things. So extending this contract will use more of the FDOT money that we originally received to be split between the different locations in the county, but we're expected to receive a separate funding source from T-BARTA for the North County. Is that what's happening?
So the money from the Florida Department of Transportation was only for St. Petersburg. And it was only for operations. And so we have used that to supplement our operations to date. And so they have paid half of the cost of our operations so far. There is residual money left in that grant to the tune of about $35,000. And so if we were not to do this extension, we would lose that money back to the state. It would not be transferable to North County.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Seeing no other questions, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right, that was not a no, that was seeing none. Thank you, Cassandra, and thank you all
Thank you.
here. We're going to switch back to the Clearwater Multimodal Facility. We had, Commissioner Albritton delayed that, hoping you could join us. So thank you for joining us. And Abhishek, I'm sure you're ready to go.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Committee. Me, along with Mr. Burns, are highly motivated and excited to present this item. This is a long time coming, and we're really excited to present this to you. Next slide, please. So the action item for the committee today is to approve a 3-year contract with CDM Smith for design, preliminary engineering and design services for the Clearwater Multimodal Facility for a contract amount not to exceed $2.3 million. Next slide. So many of you are familiar with our current facility in downtown Clearwater, and that's the Park Street facility, which has been in operation for almost 40 years. It was established back in 1982, and we are serving 12 bus routes out of that facility. And you've heard me say this last year also, we've had ongoing capacity challenges there, as well as some roof issues. A lot of our newer hybrid electric buses have some difficulty in getting under the roof. You can kind of see that in the picture with one of the hybrid electric buses barely making under the roof here. So for those reasons and others, we are looking to invest in a brand new multimodal facility in Clearwater. Next slide, please. And this is located near Court Street and Myrtle. And this facility, the site is really well positioned for not only meeting our current needs, but also our future needs. It is a pretty big site. And you can see here in this image where the Park Street facility is compared to where we're proposing the new facility to be. It is also located adjacent to a CSX rail line that could position this facility to serve as a future rail stop or a passenger rail stop if that's something that we desire in the future. Next slide. So this facility will include 16 dedicated bus bays with enhanced passenger amenities. Will also include some technology upgrades, including the bus arrival, departure information. Passengers can also note which bus will be arriving at which bay in some of the more modern facilities. We'll also have improved pedestrian access and multimodal connections. You've heard about our push for multimodalism with bike share, scooter share, ride hailing, whether it's our Direct Connect program or taxis. So it'll truly be a multimodal facility. And then as I mentioned in my previous comment, sometime in the future, we might desire to upgrade this facility to also handle passenger rail service. So that's what we're envisioning for this facility to be. And then as this committee has heard in previous month, we did take acceptance of additional electric fleet. And we'd like for this facility to be able to handle the electric fleet as well as the associated charging infrastructure. And then sustainability is a big thing for us. And in a push to be more sustainable, we are going to be incorporating a lot of the green building design principles as part of this endeavor, whether it's solar panels or green roofs or any other ideas that our consultant team would come up with to make this a totally sustainable facility for the PSTA. Next slide. So this total project cost is between $20 and $24 million, and we are looking to rely highly on US DOT, almost 80% of the funding. We're looking to get funding through that. We've also received confirmation from Florida Department of Transportation for $2.3 million through their intermodal grant. And then we're also working with City of Clearwater for the land where this facility would be accommodated. So those would be the three funding sources that we would be looking at to complete this facility. Next slide. So just a high-level schedule we're looking at. We're going to, assuming the committee and the board approve the contract to start the planning process, we will be starting that process in a few weeks, and then begin final design in summer of next year, followed by construction in 2023, and then proposed operation in fall of 2024. Next slide. So we are very early in the process, but we are at the beginning, and so we're really excited to start that process to get this going. Next slide. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Al Burns, who can talk about the evaluation process that we follow. Al?
Thank you, Abhishek. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Al Burns, your highly motivated Director of Procurement. Again, in late November, we released a RFQ, or a request for qualification. It was in compliance with PSTA's procurement policies, and also the procurement was compliant with the CCNA Florida statutes requirement for hiring an A&E or architect and engineering firm. The solicitation was posted on PSTA's website and on DemandStar. On December 23rd, we received 4 proposals. Great competition. We received proposals from Associated Space Design Incorporated, CDM Smith Incorporated, Window Architecture, and WSP. In your packet, on the action item, you'll see the evaluation criteria that was evaluated. My counterpart, Mr. Abhishek, is very, very smart about engaging our community partners in the solicitation process. And the evaluation committee was comprised of PSTA members, City of Clearwater staff, Pinellas County staff, and they evaluated the proposals and ranked them in the following order. CDM Smith, WSP, Associated Space, Window Architecture. We then invited the two highest ranked firms, CDM Smith and WSP, to give us presentations. After presentations were performed, CDM Smith was ranked the highest. As we do with all of our contracts, we did a responsibility check, and it was determined that CDM Smith has an active business license and is able to conduct business in the state of Florida. We also did a check on their financials, and they are in good financial standing. And Commissioner Shulman, as you know, I serve as the agency's DBELO, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Liaison Officer, and I am so excited and highly motivated to let you know that CDM Smith has a DBE commitment of 13.6% on this project. I'll turn it back over to Abhishek to go over the fiscal impact and the final recommendation.
Thank you, Al. Next slide, please. So the contract, the design services contract, is going to be in 3 phases, and it's very similar to the Sunrunner designed contract that I had talked about. The first phase would be, of course, the planning phase, where we will engage with all our partners to understand what exactly we'll be designing. And then phase 2 will be the more detailed design and engineering work. And then the third phase will be the designer's support during the construction portion of the contract. Next slide, please. And so the recommendation here for the committee is to award the Clearwater Multimodal Facility Preliminary Engineering and Final Design Services contract to CDM Smith for a not to exceed amount of $2.3 million. I'll also say that we have some representatives from CDM Smith, Mr. Bob Ham and Ben Harbour. And Ben is the proposed project manager. If they could maybe wave, turn on their cameras and wave.
Thank you, Abhishek, for the acknowledgement there. Nice to talk to everyone this morning.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Chair, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Al. Are there any questions? Commissioner Flowers.
Sorry, I'm new. I have a ton of questions. So good morning, everyone, and thank you so very much to CDM for your strong efforts, as well as staff, to include DBE and SBE programs within the construct of your application. My question is, for the DBE, SBEs, are they receiving substantial work components within your operation, or can you give us some idea of what work they would be performing on the project? I'm new on the board, so this is something that may have already been discussed, and I was not here for that conversation, so I do apologize if this is repetitive for you.
Absolutely, and I'll ask Al to maybe respond to that, Commissioner.
Commissioner Flowers, good morning. Al Burns, the procurement director and the DBELO. And I must have to compliment you on your amazing outfit this morning. It is stunning and so fitting for the month of February.
Thank you.
You're welcome. CDM Smith is an international firm, and they have a strong commitment to the DBE program. They have 4% for landscaping, 0.5% for architecture, utility coordination, 6% in community outreach, and that's just to name a few. In their proposal, they have listed over 10 subcontractors. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, 13 subcontractors, and 10 of those 13 subcontractors are DBEs. Commissioner Flowers, also Abhishek spoke about the project being done on a task order basis. Part of each task order will be to analyze and look at the DB commitment for each task order. And ma'am, I can assure you that myself, along with my staff, specifically Ms. Maggie Soto, we monitor that. And by all account, I think CDM Smith, they also have a very robust DBE commitment and a DBE program where they monitor that internally as well.
Thank you so very much. I'm sorry. Thank you so very much for that information, and I'm really impressed with the attempt for community outreach, making sure that local SBEs within our community would have an opportunity to participate in this project. So thank you so very much for staff's input. Thank you to CDM for including this in your, on the operational side of your contract. Thank you, Josh.
Hey, are there additional questions? Commissioner Cox?
Thank you, Josh. My question is on the property itself. Who owns that property right now? That it's a big vacant lot with a building on it, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner. So right now, the city of Clearwater owns the three parcels, and that's who we are working with the city staff to see if there's potential to be able to use that property for this facility. I'll also note that the city of Clearwater is interested in the lot that PSDA's Park Street facility sits on for their new city hall. So we've been having active conversations with their staff to see if there could be a potential swap to allow for both the city and PSDA to have our respective facilities on the lots.
And it looks like a large parcel, and also the ingress and egress should be, I would think, enhanced from what we had over on Park Street too. So,
Absolutely, and it's you pointed out correctly. It is a little bit on the edge of downtown Clearwater, so that does allow for our buses to be able to get in and out pretty easily, as opposed to our current facility where they have to go into downtown and navigate through all the traffic. So we believe that this is a great location for this particular purpose.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Albritton, if you'll push the, there you go.
There we go. Okay, the phase one, when do you anticipate that being complete?
We are anticipating to have that completed by summer of next year. We want to make sure that we include all the stakeholders in this first phase, work with the city, particularly the city staff, to make sure it's in line with the city's vision for downtown and it fits within that vision. And of course, work with our operations team, our safety and security team to make sure we incorporate all the necessary elements of this facility.
Okay, good, yeah, because we just updated the downtown development code. So I've talked to staff about it, and they're anxious to work with the engineers and the architects on this to make sure that it fits in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Abhishek, I do have a couple of questions, and one of the things that you had mentioned was the proximity to the CSX line and potential connections in the future. And that made me think about the Forward Pinellas work on aerial gondolas and testing those theories as a potential mobility source in Clearwater. Has there been thought, or is there a current plan to incorporate a potential connection to this site to any future transit along those lines?
So far, we've not had that conversation on incorporating gondolas, but we've just started this process, and that's part of the outreach we will do, and hence the long phase for the planning phase to make sure that all interested parties we can talk to, any ongoing studies we can incorporate as we begin this process. But in answer to your question, no, so far we've not talked about including that.
I can probably add to that a little bit.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, T-BARTA is funding the engineering for the concept of where it would go in Clearwater and downtown St. Pete. And I believe that's underway. So we don't know anything yet, but I would suggest that you do talk to, as well as we will, and when the engineers get in contact, make sure that they know that this is in the plan. And, you know, we're doing an intermodal center there, so they can have an option to bring it there as well. It would probably be something where we need structured parking for park and ride kind of thing, but, you know, what we're planning to do on the PSTA site on Park and Garden is we're planning on putting a 6 or 7 story parking garage with City Hall on top. So I know it's not real close to it's within 2 or 3 blocks, but that may be one of the stops, and then you can jump from there over to the intermodal center site. I think would be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I also envision a time when people will take the bus to the intermodal center and then hop on the aerial gondola across there by, their park and ride can be at their home.
Absolutely.
And get there that way. So I appreciate that. I just know we're in an exciting time where all of these different things are moving forward, and trying to make sure they still remain connected is important. And Mr. Miller?
Yeah, no, I also just I agree with you. It's an exciting time, and, you know, this project is probably 10 or 15 years overdue. And so to actually move forward with design and actually get something going is an accomplishment. But I don't want to keep our eyes off the ball. The goal right now, this year, in the next couple of months, is to put a real great pitch and lobbying effort toward getting that, as Abhishek's pie chart showed, 80% of the money coming from the United States Department of Transportation, getting a grant for the construction money this year, in this go-round, if possibly we can. And that, you know, that's number 1 on our federal priority list. We've talked to Congressman Charlie Crist about it. And you know, I know Commissioner Albritton has been pounding the pavement in Clearwater to get letters of support. We're working to get a letter of support from Pinellas County. So that's really our focus. With the current administration, it's not only a good thing for our own community to make sure that this design is very green and sustainable. That's our winning ticket to getting the money too, especially from this administration. If we can present a really green, sustainable kind of facility that we want to build, that will help us secure those funds. So I know that's our focus. We're getting the design going. Probably one of the first things that CDM Smith is going to hopefully help us do is help flesh out, so we can show it in the grant application to the feds, exactly how the building is going to operate and then and be sustainable.
Mr. Albritton?
Yeah, just to add to that, you know, we do have letters from Amplify, which is our Chamber of Commerce in Clearwater, the CDP, which is the Clearwater Downtown Partnership, the DCMA, which is the Merchants Association, and a lot of major businesses downtown. Now we're working, and of course the city of Clearwater, I'm working on trying to get the county to give us a letter. We had a little hang up there I found out at our Ford Pinellas meeting last week, because the county, it conflicts with a job that they have that they want to fund, which is the Dunedin Causeway. Now, according to Witt in Ford Pinellas, he said, look, the Causeway is not in our priority list, the Ford Pinellas priority list, where the intermodal center is. Oh. And he suggested that the county maybe go, instead of a build grant, they go toward one of the sustainability grants that are going to be coming out with the green, for raising roadways and things like that. And there's going to be a lot of money for that. So I'm in the process of maybe trying to get the county to reconsider, instead of not, giving us a recommendation, because we are the county seat, and the county courthouse is right there within you know, a couple of blocks, and it would be great to have a county letter from them as well. So anyway, that's in play. I just wanted to put that out
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Are there any additional questions? No, I'll entertain a motion. So a motion by Commissioner Flowers, second by Commissioner Albritton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, motion passes unanimously. And I'll just add the exciting thing about being 10 years delayed is that we're 10 years into the future of new mobility options that we probably wouldn't have imagined to incorporate.
That's true.
So it's delayed, but it'll be even more magnificent once completed and serve the community for an even longer period of time. So
True.
thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Al. I appreciate that.
Thank you all.
And Cassandra, the Sunrunner,
Yes.
what would you like to share?
Well, this is an information item on the transit-oriented development pilot program. And we had won a grant from the Federal Transit Administration to look at the land use around the Sunrunner project. And so this is an update of where we are with the project, how we've been working with the cities along the Sunrunner line, and really focusing in on the economic development opportunities that we have with the infrastructure project that we are currently building. So next slide, please, Julie. Thank you. So as you know, the Sunrunner is a 10-mile bus rapid transit line connecting downtown St. Petersburg through the cities of South Pasadena and onto St. Pete Beach. We did receive the funding for the construction of the infrastructure project earlier this year, and Abhishek and his team have been doing an excellent job of managing that construction. But as we move forward in the development of the project, we've also been working with the cities on adjusting their opportunities and their codes to accept new development along this bus rapid transit line. Next slide, please. We know that the economic development opportunities are great within this corridor, and we have seen that through the support of the cities along the line, especially the city of St. Petersburg. And certainly Mayor Kreisman truly understands the opportunities for economic development and how this particular corridor is one of our best opportunities in the region to achieve that truly urban area that we can be proud of for the entire Tampa Bay region. Next slide, please. So when we think of buses and other transportation projects, we don't always think about how they affect the land around it. But in the case of fixed guideway projects, which this is one, we can see how the permanence of the development does create this security for developers to come in and take advantage of the public infrastructure. So while we're enhancing mobility for existing employees, students, and visitors, and creating that predictable travel pattern, they're taking a look at how they are able to entice new people to come into the area and take advantage of the mobility options. We selected bus rapid transit a while ago because it has a much lower implementation cost. And in fact, the Sunrunner project is one of the lowest cost BRT projects in the country. And so while we are creating the business access and transit lanes as that fixed guideway portion, it is a very low cost solution to achieving some of our economic development goals in Pinellas County. Next slide, please. Just to show you some of the examples that our consultant has found on other bus rapid transit lines. The Cleveland Health line in Cleveland, Ohio, had explosive amount of growth in their corridor. And they were connecting their downtown to medical facilities and all the way out to East Cleveland, where they had a lot of riders that needed to get into the downtown. They saw a tremendous increase in the ridership in this highly productive corridor before it was implemented. But then after it was implemented, they had almost $6 billion in new development along the corridor, which really spoke to the value that the public infrastructure project brought to their community. Next slide, please. There are several other examples all over the country, Denver and LA, also who have had joint development opportunities, partnerships with public land, private developers, but also just good, solid, transit-oriented development at the densities that are supported by an investment like this. Next slide, please. So as we got into our own corridor between downtown and St. Pete Beach, we looked at different character districts along the corridor, because as you move from one end to the other, there are different housing types, different neighborhoods, and we wanted to make sure that we were looking at each area in a way that we could create a framework for development at the stations, but also keep in context with what the community desires for its neighborhood. So while we're looking at an entire corridor, we're really examining those access points or the station locations and how the development might change in those areas, but still meet the needs of those that live in the area now. Next slide, please. So we did start this project in 2019, slowed down a little bit in 2020, but we have made some great progress on the existing conditions report, and we're able to meet with some community influencers of over 30 organizations. And the listening sessions that we had with those grass top people were informative for our upcoming public engagement. We wanted to make sure that all along the corridor that we were really listening to what people desired, what their concerns were, and how we could make sure that we're addressing those, but also integrating with other activities that the cities are engaged in, like the St. Petersburg 2050 plan. Most recently, we completed a best practices review of transit-oriented development across the country. And this will, again, help us to inform how we move forward with stationary frameworks for land development changes, and also a future design and zoning codes. Next slide, please. At this point, we've taken a look at each of those station locations and identified them in one of 4 place types. And we put them in these categories so that we can create framework plans that are applicable to any of the stations that would be in those place types. So we are looking at a downtown category, which is what you would consider as a high-rise, mixed uses, employment center with a high walkability score and plenty of multimodal connections that come into a downtown. As we start to move out of that truly high-rise environment and we sort of step down in sort of a mid-rise level, we change the land use mixes, add in a bit more residential, but still keep that high walkability and multimodal connection score. A village place type would again step down a little bit further, but really create more of what you would consider like a town center kind of feel, where you have more single family residential, not as much high density residential, not as many multimodal connections, but still giving people that opportunity to walk to the station. And finally, the neighborhood place type, which is trying to keep the existing fabric of the community, low rise, primarily single family, but trying still to think about how do people who are in those neighborhoods getting to the BRT project. So as we think about what kind of change each one of these areas might have, we want to keep in mind of what's there and what's of value, and how people are interacting with the current services that we have out there, but how they might interact with the new BRT project. Next slide, please. So when we looked at the mapping of where these different place types might be, downtown, it makes a lot of sense that we would be in the downtown area. Those would be your higher rise. And as you move further west, we'd get less dense. There is this sort of transitional area between that downtown and the neighborhoods on the west end of the Central Avenue corridor, focusing in on the Grand Central being not quite as high-rise applicable in the downtown, but still having a level of density, and I think you've seen that in the development that's happening there already. The village concept was more applicable out west, where we do see some retail that could probably be enhanced with walkability, better sidewalk connections, but also had a commercial potential to it. And so the very west end in St. Petersburg, but also thinking about Pasadena Avenue as the main street for South Pasadena, they would have a village concept station, something that would be focused on the retail and the needs and the value capture that they see in their community, and then also some tourist focused areas out at the beach. So layered on top of this place type framework, next slide please, are these potential overlays, because each station is going to be a little bit different. We want to make sure that we're blending in enough flexibility into the framework, so that as we progress into the land development code, that we're allowing for some of those village areas to be focused on entertainment, others to be focused on medical and innovation. We have a couple of stations near hospitals, and then of course out at the beaches, focusing in on hospitality and making sure that we're creating the kind of environment that enhances the economics out there as well. Next slide, please. So we've been very internally focused at this point, collecting some data, doing the market analysis, looking at how each area within the corridor experiences the economy with the inflow and outflow of dollars, and there might be some additional opportunity to keep dollars within the corridor by creating new development opportunities. But now we're just about to go out to the public. So as I mentioned, we did use that grass tops interviews to help us inform us how we would interact with the public, but then also how we might develop some relationships with the development community, and we'll be holding a developers forum this spring, maybe in the next month or two, talking to developers about what they need in order to enhance their opportunities to create the kind of spaces that we're looking for. We have decided that we will try to keep community workshops virtual for people's safety, but definitely if we have the opportunity to be in person, we will do that as long as it stays within the protocols of our agency. I have a couple of other slides that talk about the public engagement that we've done already for the construction side of the project. But this concludes the portion of the land use discussion. This project is being funded by the Federal Transit Administration Transit-Oriented Development Pilot Program. And the match that we've had put forth for this project is our staff time. It was a rare opportunity that we had with the FTA in order to use that as a match. And so we've asked all of our partners at the City of St. Petersburg and Forward Pinellas to make that same commitment to match. And so they have been matching with their staff time and adding a lot of expertise to this project. You may have also heard that we won a second TOD pilot program grant, and that will be to focus in on our business assistance program. And so we have developed a draft business assistance program. We're working through the process of opening up that second grant and working with the city of St. Petersburg's Greenhouse, their small business liaison, in order to make sure that we're reaching all business types along the corridor. And so you'll hear more about that business assistance plan as we start to open up that work and access that second grant. Next slide, please. So Abhishek is still in the room, the virtual room. And so if you do have any questions about the construction, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. But we are on schedule with an 18-month construction schedule, moving from St. Pete Beach to St. Petersburg, and still in planned opening in the spring of 2022. We have been, next slide please, we've been making sure that people along the corridor know about the construction in a few different ways. We do have a dedicated construction website, and I'll show you that in just a minute, and people certainly can call anyone who wants to have a discussion about when the construction will come to them. We're happy to do that, and we've also had staff walking the corridor in order to make sure that we're reaching everyone. We have sent out about 10,000 postcards so far to each of the property owners along of the corridor, within a few hundred feet of the construction. And we'll continue to do that as we move to the east. We've sent one postcard to everyone so far, and then as we move east, we send them in batches so that people get at least 2 postcards as they move forward. We also have, next slide, please. On our website, there is a link to the Sunrunner construction page, and that gives a lot of detail about each station. So as we get information from the contractor, whether that's starting the construction, when that will be, we get detailed dates for that, but also any pictures of the ongoing construction will be posted here on the map off our Sunrunner communication page, which can be accessed from the psta.net website. And so we are keeping this up to date. If people have questions or comments, they can put them right on the map if specific to an area. So far, it's been very quietly positive out there. The construction doesn't take very long in each particular location. So the contractor has been doing an excellent job of keeping things moving. And as far as I know, we have not received any complaints about the construction itself. And so I would say that they are doing a very job keeping their promises to make this as painless as possible for the community as we get to the opening day of this great project. And that concludes my presentation to the committee this morning. This is just an information item, an update of where we are. As I said, we will start our public engagement with a developers forum and some community workshops over the next couple months. And we are working very closely with the cities of St. Petersburg and South Pasadena on this project.
Thank you, Cassandra. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Albritton?
Yeah, Cassandra, thank you for a great presentation. You answered my question. I was concerned about how South Pasadena and the beaches were taking the construction. It sounds like it's pretty quiet out there.
It's, and Abhishek can certainly jump in on that, but it has been very quiet, and it's been very well coordinated with other construction projects that they have out on the beach. So the city of St. Pete Beach is doing their forced sewer main project, and I think both construction teams have been very good about communicating, and so it does look very seamless out there for the construction, and I believe they're almost done out there. It's close to, jumping around a little bit, but getting close to being done.
Great, that's a good thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cassandra and Abhishek, right now that the cat ends at our final point there, across from Dolphin Village, is that not correct, or does it go all the way? It does. Okay, so how's it going with St. Pete Beach, with those little mini vehicles they have, going down to Passaic Grill? Do they come up to our station there?
Yes, I can answer that. So we have been, like Cassandra mentioned, we've been working very closely with the staff at St. Pete Beach and South Pasadena. For St. Pete Beach, as you know, they've been running their, I believe it's called freebie shuttles. And those shuttles have actually been terminating at the County Beach Park, where we recently completed the construction.
Right.
So we've actually coordinated with them to make sure that passengers who get off our CAT trolleys, they can easily access the freebie shuttles. As you know, Commissioner Cox, our CAT trolleys are already using the County Beach Park bus turnaround, so that allows for that easy transition with the
Okay, good.
St. Pete Beach trolley.
I was curious, my wife and I did use it to go to the hurricane, when our trolleys used to go down to Don Cesar, and it was actually pretty good. I mean, they have a website, and you just hit a button, they tell you when the vehicle will be to you, and there you go. But thanks.
Excellent.
That's all I got.
Any additional questions? Cassandra, I did have just one question and one comment. I know you said that there were 30 different conversations that you had with stakeholders in the community. Was Kona one of those organizations?
I believe that it was. We also talked to several individual neighborhood associations that are in the corridor itself. So we did make sure that we were talking not just to the neighborhood association leaders, but other groups and communities within the organization, within the corridor or adjacent to the corridor.
Fantastic, I appreciate that. And then I'm very interested to hear what comes out of the developer forum. Because the development has been moving west, and they're running out of things to think about east of 34th Street. And so it'd be interesting to see how what developers have in mind for the west side of 34th. So I appreciate that, and this is exciting stuff.
Yes, we've been contacted by several developers that are looking at higher density residential, some small apartment complexes, buildings, and townhomes as well on that west end. And so it's been surprising how many of them have reached out to us, asking us about our project, and really getting engaged on the development around the corridor. And so what we have read in our journals and our industry papers is coming true right here in Pinellas County. It's you guys have been saying it for a long time. If we build it, they will come, and that is certainly playing out that way. And so it truly is transformative for the St. Pete, that whole corridor, and the beaches as well. Brad, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think you said it aptly, sort of, if you build it, they will come. The federal government invests heavily in Sunrunner and other projects like this, and so it's great that they're now recognizing that the benefit of rapid transit investment is the development around those corridors. You don't have to build as many expensive parking garages as a developer because you have another transportation option. And however, at the local level, obviously PSTA as an organization, we don't have any land use powers as we operate the transit. So Cassandra has pointed out, it is so important for us to coordinate all this, and they're fully engaged. The city of St. Petersburg and the other cities, as well as Fort Pinellas and the county, all have a role to play in these discussions. This presentation that Cassandra just made to the planning committee was the suggestion of our two St. Pete City Council people that are on PSTA. Gina Driscoll and Deborah Figgs-Sanders saw this presentation to St. Pete, and we're so excited about it that they wanted us to present it too. But it is exciting. Hopefully we will see that development expand along the corridor out to the west. I know that the city wants that too. Yeah.
Excellent. Any additional questions? Nope. Cassandra, thank you. Abhishek, thank you.
Thank you.
It really is an exciting time to be working on these things. You know, it's hard to say exciting times in dealing with coronavirus, but there are great things still happening, so I appreciate that. Mr. Cox?
I have a question of Mr. Miller. That driving on 275 now, I see where there's development on the shoulders that say bus only. Could you enlighten us a little more about that?
I look forward to enlightening you fully, but yes, the game plan is that this summer, the DOT and PSTA in partnership with the Florida Department of Transportation will be launching a pilot of using the shoulders along I-275 between 22nd Avenue North in St. Petersburg and Gandy, where you've seen the crews out there sort of hardening and widening the shoulders. Although when I drive today, it didn't look like it was 10 feet wide, but supposedly they are going to make them. We've tested it, and so starting this summer, the pilot will begin. And we'll have a lot more information coming to you about it. The plan, however, is the buses will be able to use the shoulder when the traffic is backed up and is congested. And during the pandemic right now, the traffic is not as, volumes are not as much. So there will be some time, I think, for this to kind of get phased in over time.
Would we use 100X for that?
Yes, the 100X, which already goes on the I-275 and then it goes over Gandy.
Britain Plaza.
Right. So it'll be perfect for that service.
That's a start, let's put it that way.
It was fun seeing those signs go up. I
Yeah,
noticed them
I'm-
about a week ago.
I'm going like this, wait a minute.
Like, hey, I know what that is.
Yeah, the public, the exits at 38th and 54th will have ramp metering installed. I mean, they're being installed now. And so when you get onto the highway at those locations, if a bus is coming, you'll get a red light and you'll have to stop. And that's obviously going to take the public some time to learn how that all works.
Kind of like in Seattle does the same thing. Yeah.
Lots of cities do that, yes. DC has that too.
All right, is there any other business? All right, seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. I thank you all.
Thank you, whoa!
Whoa.
Hey, real hard. You know, with great power.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, nice work.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. I said, thank you, Commissioner Flowers.